Hey guys, it's Layla from Ignite, and in today's video I'll be addressing a key theme from George Orwell's 1984, that being the notion of submission. If you're studying the HSC this year and you'd like some extra help with your studies, check out our website. It's www.ignitehsc.com.au. We've got incredible resources touching on exemplar essays, close analysis, context and form for most of the HSC texts, so check it out and get a head start on your HSC studies. But for now, let's get into today's video. So my goal for today's video is to foreground a central concern of Orwell's text, that being the notion of submission, or otherwise could be framed as this notion of failed rebellion. And the purpose for addressing the video in this way is to help you with drafting your exemplar essays. So if you're drafting some practice paragraphs now and you're thinking of different ideas on which you can base those paragraphs, this video will prove as useful. So I'm going to discuss that central concern, which links to the ending of the text. I'll then give you some evidence and analysis which you could actually use to facilitate the writing of your paragraph. So that's where we're headed in today's video. Okay, so the central concern I'm dealing with is this notion of submission that comes up at the end of the text. So as you may know, if you've read the text, we start off with this imminent sense of control at the beginning, and it really implicates Winston. He's very aware of his limited sense of agency as he tries to navigate his human experience. And that limited sense of agency propels him to meet Julia, and it is with Julia that they enact the ultimate sense of rebellion, which is through their affair. Lust and desire acting as forms of rebellion because they distract from the individual's total sense of devotion and loyalty towards Big Brother. However, as is kind of foreground from the beginning of the text, that sense of rebellion is futile, and Winston and Julia are discovered and they are taken away and I guess tortured to the point where they are forced to submit to Big Brother's methodology. Quite interestingly, and in a very, I guess, homoerotic and sexual way, the sexual affair that Winston did have with Julia is almost replaced by what we could say is a symbolic rape by Big Brother. Sentences such as, "We will fill you with ourselves," do allude to this, I guess, sense of filling Winston with the ideology of Big Brother towards a point of submission. But there are moments in the text such as the pulling of Winston's teeth and the filling of ideology, which do carry with it a very strong sexual undertone. So the rebellion that is enacted through sex is then kind of replaced and drummed into the individual as a form of, I guess, powerlessness through the symbolic rape and then submission of Winston to the modes of power of control enacted by Big Brother. So as we move to the end of the text, following that torture, Winston does submit to the force of Big Brother. He claims to love Big Brother. He admits that 2 + 2 = 5. So by the end of the text, the human experience is, I guess, quashed. It's diminished in the face of control, and there is no hope left for Winston or humanity when we finish reading that book. When we think about that in light of, I guess, Orwell's broader purpose, he is trying to shock his audience into an awareness of the modes of control that existed within his own time. And if you're interested in looking further into that, we have a video on context in 1984, and that would really complement your discussion of why submission is the ending that Orwell chooses for the, I guess, demise of Winston at the end of the text. So submission is our point here, or you could reframe it as failed rebellion, or the quashing of individual desire, the end of one's human experience and autonomy. These are all ways that you could construe this notion of submission. I frame it in a broad sense because I think it's important when you're drafting your body paragraphs to actually be quite broad. When you're overly specific in the drafting of your essays, it mitigates your ability to deal very directly with an essay question that you're given. So be broad and be very open to using the question you get in the exam to facilitate and guide your discussion of key ideas in your actual essay, because you should be engaging with the question as much as you can. All right, let's now take a look at some quotes which speak to these aspects of submission within the text, and we'll work through analysis of them. So that way, by the end of the clip, you're very well equipped to start drafting your own body paragraph on the notion of submission if you chose to pursue that as a focus for your essay. Alrighty, so here's a great quote. "He seemed to have lost the power of intellectual effort now that the stimulus of pain had been removed. He was not bored. He had no desire for conversation or distraction." Okay, so the accumulation of descriptions here of Winston at the end of the text speak to his, I guess, internally failed desire to rebel. Words such as lost the power and then intellectual effort. Stimulus of pain had been removed. Not bored, right? Because he had no longer the capability of being bored because he was dumbed into a position of submission. No desire for conversation or distraction. And even taking no desire, it serves to represent his now movement away from the want to engage with any sort of sexual affair with Julia, but rather accepting, submitting, and being subservient to the modes of Big Brother. So the unemotiveness of the description serves to represent the now full completion of Winston's journey. He has been, I guess, forced to accept his position of subservience, and his will to challenge those human experiences, those adversities with which he has been met, are now completely quashed. He is happily accepting a moment of submission. And this is really important because Orwell is trying to show us that the individual who once had the will to rebel and to question and to interrogate has now been relegated to a position of full acceptance. And he chooses to end the novel with that really kind of warning and shocking note. Let's have a look at how you could analyze this quote within a body paragraph. So the subdued tone and modality used to describe Winston's lack of intellectual stimulation, desire, and his boredom show or represent his slow descent into the mind-numbing effects of the party, and thus Winston's ultimate submission to their regimes. So we see this transition in his character from one who previously rebelled to now one who accepts his position of nothingness. He's completely submitted to the whims of Big Brother and the party. Let's take a look at one more quote. He was back in the ministry of love with everything forgiven, his soul white as snow. That simile there and the symbolic purity of snow as being white is highly paradoxical because we know that his soul has not been purified, but it's actually been corrupted and poisoned by the control of Big Brother. So it's a very, I guess, ironic and antithetical description of his soul because it's not pure, it's purely been coloured by the blackness of the party's control. Feeling of walking in sunlight and an armed guard at his back, the long hoped for bullet was entering his brain. So we end with this realization that he is happy to be punished and to be at the whims of the party. And his soul is paradoxically described as white when we know he is deeply, deeply corrupted by the whims of the party and the control of their regimes. Okay, so this is how you can analyze this within a paragraph. There is a symbolic paradox to the simile of white as snow. Winston's soul is now infected by the corrupt and totalitarian force of the party. This paradox continues through the image of walking in sunlight, which connotes truth and freedom, but is of course contradictory because we know he's not walking into freedom, he's walking very paradoxically into submission. But is contradictory by the presence of the guard at his back. So that guard at his back contradicts or is paradoxical against the walking in sunlight because these are two opposing ideas. The long-hoped bullet signifies Winston's ultimate death, penultimate following one's complete surrender to the party. So the death at the end, which is ultimate, is underpinned by the previous submission to the party. That's what leads him to, I guess, accept and be willing to accept the ultimate ending to this character. So what you can see is through the progression of the text, Orwell, I guess, triggers us with the possibility of rebellion, the possibility of one's awareness to escape the control of the party, but that is, of course, overcome by the extent of surveillance and the extent of control, which completely quashes the autonomy or the agency of the individual, notions which are actually central to our existence as humans. So when they're removed and the individual submits at the end, Orwell makes a statement about the extent to which we are willing to accept modes of control and thereby sacrifice the integrity of our humanity, which is of course sacrificed in Winston by the end of the text. Okay guys, I hope you found that useful. I hope you've taken away some key concerns from the text and different ways to frame them. You've got evidence to give you a head start on drafting up some paragraphs. Get ahead with your essay preparation before the trials in HSC. You should have prepared essays and body paragraphs to facilitate you with your navigation of the exams. You can't walk into an exam with nothing prepared. So use this content to give you that, I guess, advantage moving into your exams. If you do want extra help with your studies, don't forget to check out our website. We have so much more analysis framed in this very helpful way to guide you through your studies. But for now, thank you so much for watching. Do like and subscribe to the channel and put any questions in our comments and I'll do my best to get back to you. But for now, I really hope to see you guys in a future video. Thank you. Hey guys, thank you so much for watching. If you do like the content, subscribe to our channel and we'll have more videos coming your way.
That's right, guys. Thanks for watching. And please make sure you check out our online resource database. We've had a team of state rank achievers and heads of English put these together for you, covering everything from essay structures and examples all the way through to craft of writing and comprehension skills. So check them out at ignitehse.com.au and we look forward to seeing you in the next video.